Welcome back to Hybiz conversation. In the first half of it, we were speaking to Professor K. Purushotham Reddy about various aspects of environment, the battles that he fought and the battles that he won. Not just he, but when he was his own team of people and the citizens of various parts like Patancheru, Nallamala and other areas. Another striking part, as I mentioned just before we closed the earlier part, was about the Eastern Ghats. Because the Western Ghats agitation was very well known. Both Professor Kasturi Rangan and of course the separate reports that are given by others were all trashed by the Kerala government, the Karnataka government, by all politicians of all kinds. But the Eastern Ghats were a different cup of tea because not much was known about it. So in this part of it, let me ask Professor Reddy about the Eastern Ghats part of it, because the Western Ghats, as I told you, was pretty well known. So what was the Eastern Ghats report all about?
Actually, Eastern Ghats are fragmented Ghats. We find the Eastern Ghats, about 40% of them are there in Orissa, approximately 30% in AP, and about 25% or slightly in Tamil Nadu, and 2%, 3% in Karnataka and also in Telangana. Unlike the Western Ghats, these are broken. These are broken and we have rivers passing through them. Okay. So we find long gaps also between the Ghats. But whatever it is, these Ghats are wonderful, and particularly Nallamala and that Simhachalam, all these Venkatachala, Nallamala, they are excellent Ghats, and you find they are full of biodiversity. Two examples I want to give. One is that very famous Ongole bull. Ongole bull is world famous. Correct. It is on the what we call eastern side of the Nallamala towards Prakasham. Ongole is Prakasham is the new name for Ongole district. Okay. And that animal is very sturdy, very strong, huge. You know why? Because of the soil and the water and the fodder, whatever it is available for it. That makes that wonderful animal so beautiful. Similarly, there is another tree, which is that famous sandalwood tree, red sandalwood. It's the costliest wood in the world. So there is definitely something in the Eastern Ghats which makes it, everything more beautiful. The animals, the birds, you find the great Indian bustard in Kurnool, Rollapadu area. But whatever it is, unlike the Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats are in a much more horrible condition because several projects have been constructed in the Eastern Ghats, the Nagarjuna Sagar, the Srisailam Dam, the Hirakud Dam, and a whole lot of projects, that is one. And these projects have submerged valuable part of the Eastern Ghats. Then extensive mining, bauxite, iron ore in whole of Orissa, they are simply ripping up the soil and it's all mining. Then in addition to this, urbanization, whether it is Visakhapatnam, Vijayawada, Tirupati. And what is worse is, somehow I realize that in the name of temple tourism, there is a greater damage to the environment. Tirupati, Simhachalam, Srisailam. Now, suppose there is an ancient temple atop a hill. And how come they lay a big road and, as if God is not anywhere else but there? God is everywhere. There is no need for the public to go. If they wish to go, that's a separate thing, but nobody is stopping them. But the government can't be destroying the forest only to make the God.
In fact, we are seeing it in Hyderabad, where they proposed to construct the road to the Maulali Hillock, where the famous dargah is there on top. I mean, one can't be destroying such beautiful hillocks actually.
Exactly. That's how the Polish governments function. So this is the situation. So we approach the universities, involve the research scholars, involve the faculty. That is one part. Then we held series of seminars, and we invited papers. Hundreds of papers were submitted on the Eastern Ghats. We took the academic approach. Okay. And then we personally visited the environmental hotspots in the entire Eastern Ghats. We went to Orissa, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and AP and talk to the people, talk to the locals. And coming from the foothills of Nallamala, I'm almost like a child of the Nallamala, and that was the attachment. And there are many amongst us who are like that. That report is marvelous. Why? We have given actual solutions, policy wise, how to manage the Eastern Ghats. Because right now they are scattered in Orissa, AP, Tamil Nadu, right, Telangana, and Karnataka, 5 states. Maybe not Kerala, but 5 states. And there is no single agency for the entire Eastern Ghats. Same is the problem with Western Ghats. It's all fragmented approach. Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, and there is no cooperation, nothing in between. There is Goa. Now that concerted effort is not there. So that's why we suggested the government that they should create a special vehicle, in terms of an organization for the common property resources which are spread out in 5, 6 or even more states. Similarly, Western Ghats, Eastern, even for the Himalayas, there is nothing like a common action program. You to show me, everybody knows how important the Himalayas are for the country. Show me one organization in the entire government which can cater to the entire needs. Absolutely, there's a what we call a policy vacuum, and that indicates that the government has no concern.
So was the report accepted then by the government?
No, it doesn't make any, because we are in a position to sensitize political parties. We don't have to beg the government. Governments will come and go, but information, knowledge is power. So we are convening a meeting of all the members of parliament whose constituencies fall in the Eastern Ghats, right from Orissa to Tamil Nadu. Already we have given the copies to them, and but for Corona, that would have been completed. This last 7 months we couldn't do anything, but we know.
But you are sure that you won't face the opposition that Madhav Gadgil and Kasturi
No, that is because
faced?
See, it all depends on our understanding. We are directly in touch with the people. It's not that somebody has to arrange a meeting. We arrange meeting. Right now we are in a position 10,000 gathering, 3 days notice. The public will be there because the people know that we are for them.
So that brings me to the most hottest topic that is going around the town now. The recent rains in Hyderabad, the floods in Hyderabad, the kind of devastation that was not seen for the last, possibly the last one was in 2000, but that was also not so extensive. The government, of course, blames it, saying that it is a kind of a deluge because of the huge rain that fell during a short time. But everybody knows that most of this damage that was caused to the city happened because it was a man-made disaster. It was a disaster made by politicians of different hues, right from ruling party to the opposition to the small corporators to everybody, who threw caution to the winds. They didn't bother about the environment. They didn't bother about the nala. They didn't bother about the lakes. They didn't bother about the beautiful connection between one lake to the next lake that was established in the last so many years, hundreds of years. What went wrong? What went wrong in Hyderabad?
Frankly speaking, everything went wrong. Because first, as you rightly said, it is not just the ruling party, because ruling party varies from time to time. For example, we had 3 major political combinations. Initially it was Congress, then TDP, and now it is TRS here, and it is Jagan's party other side. So it is not the ruling is not the issue. A whole lot of Indian political parties, none of them are committed to the protection of environment. That is the first major observation. And here, when we talk about the opposition is more loyal to His Majesty. It's, you find, you take any issue, I don't know about Kerala, but here in Telangana,
It is the same everywhere.
I can assure you that opposition is always silent when it comes to, pointing out the defects of the ruling party.
What went wrong according to you?
Yeah, I will come. First of all, at least I have I can give straight away 10 major points. Number 1, Hyderabad used to have storm water drains. What is that? The road would be something like this, slightly higher at the center and sloping.
The water would taper off to the
this side and that side. and the road would always be, ups and downs. So the water would go to one end of the road, and from there it would, and at the most convenient sort of a place, there would be a manhole, and this water would go into that, and from there it would go to the nala and to the river. Such was excellent facility. Hyderabad never witnessed urban floods. You know what happened? All the stormwater drains have been carpeted when it came to when the roads were expanded.
And they kept carpeting each time going up and up.
Everything gone. It is there underground now, under the road. The road has been expanded, and over the stormwater drains the roads have come. We have pointed this out about the foolishness of this kind of expansion. But then the nexus between the contractor and the politician.
That is obvious.
It is there. You find the worst kind of construction activity going on in the corporates, municipal corporations. This is one point. Then Hyderabad, which was world famous for its water bodies. Something like, Winnipeg. Winnipeg is one state in Canada which is known for its 100,000 lakes.
And we had thousands of them in Hyderabad.
Exactly. We had more than 3,000 in a very limited area of, say, 50-kilometer radius.
And they all disappeared.
Urbanization has eaten everything. And political parties are to blame because they have always supported this kind of encroachment, and they were thinking that they were giving house sites to the poorest of the poor. But actually, it was a big nexus. And these people who got the plots, they didn't get anything free. They had to pay money, the poorest of the poor. Then they became loyal voters for the ruler, whatever party that facilitated it. With the active involvement of political parties, this kind of encroachment into the nalas took place. So where earlier lakes were there, today we find colonies. And water by gravity will flow into the lake.
All the cherus have become colonies.
Yeah, all the cherus. And today colonies are suffering because they are located in the
Water will go where it has to go. That's simple.
That is the second thing. Now coming to encroachments. The biggest encroachment is the government itself. Metro waterworks, that is one. Metro train, you must look at the pillars near the Mahatma Gandhi bus stand. The train, over the Musi, they laid a huge pillar which is going to be a major source. They could have drawn a better engineering skill. They could have avoided it with a bigger span or maybe better technology. They could have done without going in for a pillar support there. Anyway, that is one. The bus stand itself. Then they have a STP. STP is the biggest encroacher in the riverbed. And in the riverbed, they started laying roads. And look at that Sadarghat low bridge. I had cautioned infinite times, not only me, several like me in Hyderabad, that in the event of a flood, that low bridge will become like a barrage. It is going to be a major obstruction, and that is exactly what has happened. And today, that's a number one issue. Right now, it's overflowing. And water is flowing towards Koti side from Musi.
And the Naya pool has developed cracks, not the Purana pool, by the way.
Yeah, the Purana pool has withstood the test of time. So, why this crisis? Do you think it is only Hyderabad issue? No.
It happens in Mumbai, everywhere.
You know why? That is the point. As a political scientist, I wish to bring out that 74th Constitution Amendment. 73rd deals with Panchayat Raj government. 74th deals with urban local bodies or urban local governments. The word bodies has been replaced by government. So, urban local governments, they have been established. Like for example, Delhi Municipal Corporation, Bombay, Hyderabad, whatever name, there can be slight variation. Greater Hyderabad or Greater Bombay or what, that is not important, but all these urban governments have come into being under the 74th Amendment, and there are two important points One is an independent election commission. Show me in one state where the state election commissions have a election commissioner like Sheshan.
They're all appointed by the government.
Even Sheshan was appointed.
But he was independent.
See, that is what is more important. One should understand the meaning of independent. Independent means that he should understand the law and be true to the law, not to the person who is appointing. Here, state election commissioners are more loyal to the chief minister than to the constitution.
They're already speaking about ballot papers instead of EVMs, and already that talk is going on.
So that is the main thing. Secondly, the State Finance Commission. Here, the Finance Commission, please, there is a difference. When there is a National Finance Commission, it talks about distribution of money, and the flow of money should be from the center to the states. Whereas when it comes to the urban local bodies, money is generated in Hyderabad.
Almost 80%, I
It
think.
has to go to the villages or the panchayats. The flow should be from the city to the village. Okay. Who is the state government to decide? State government should not have any role between the municipalities and the local panchayat bodies.
But there again, state government will put its
But
foot in.
everywhere state governments have taken control over those finances, saying that Hyderabad is located in a particular state and therefore it should first go to the state government. And in this manner, I can assure you, I am a political scientist. I know what's going to happen in about 5 years down the line. People in Bombay will start asking a question. Our money is going to Maharashtra. Bangalore, people will ask, our money is going to Karnataka. And the same question will be asked in Hyderabad. And then Hyderabadis are not involved in that.
Because as we speak to Professor Reddy here, it's raining out here. It's beautiful to look at the rains, but one shudders to think of the people in the old city and other areas in the city which were flooded recently, because we saw the reasons were enumerated by Professor Reddy here. But I'm sure, sir, there has to be a solution for this, isn't it? Because we are talking of problems, but what are the solutions for it?
The solution is very simple. Number one, Supreme Court has to step in. See, we have a lot of examples where the Supreme Court goes to the rescue of the poorest of the poor in an isolated case also. Somewhere they read in the paper something went wrong and therefore Supreme Court accepts it. Earlier when Justice Krishna Iyer was there, or even Kuldeep Singh, on a postcard, Justice Kuldeep Singh had accepted many representations. IPIL. Today, everybody knows what's happening in urban India.
So my question would be simple. We had the High Court also talking of the full tank level and the encroachments within the full tank levels of various lakes. Do you think there is political will to remove those buildings that were built in full tank? Like some of them are commercial complexes, by the way.
So the point is, what you mentioned about right now is, so there are many things. One is the FTL of the lakes, that is one. Lakes in city. But the Supreme Court orders on GO 111, even they are not implemented. And they are conspiring to remove it. Right now there is a court order, therefore they are not venturing, but they are creating conditions for its removal.
Because at one time they said that Usman Sagar and Himayat Sagar are no longer the drinking water, and suddenly you find both those sagars are full today.
It's a deliberate conspiracy. They want to, first of all, it's like this. Suppose somebody wants to kill a dog. So he will first say that this dog carries rabies or some other, it has gone mad. It is a nuisance and a hindrance for public safety. Therefore, we need to kill it. So now they are saying, anyhow we are bringing water from Godavari and Krishna and these reservoirs are not necessary. That is wrong. See, please understand, Hyderabad is located on a Deccan plateau. And what if tomorrow something goes wrong and the water doesn't reach Hyderabad from Godavari or Krishna? Should it not have its own reservoir, at least sufficient for 15 or 20 days? To stopgap arrangement should always be there. Why should we destroy a facility which has already been created, an excellent facility, And you know, the water from Himayat Sagar and Osman Sagar goes by gravity. There is water need not be lifted, and there is no cost involved.
In fact, for those who are not really familiar, even among the Hyderabadis, the Himayat Sagar and the Usman Sagar lakes were actually conceived and built by the legendary Mokshagundam Vishvesvaraya. He was commissioned by the Nizam after the devastating floods of 1908, and he accepted it on two conditions: that he would be paid the same amount of money that was supposed to be paid to a British engineer who was earlier tasked with the same job. Second, he would be using people whom he liked to get the job done. Reminds me something of my father's ex-boss, E. Sridharan, who built the famous Konkan Railway and Delhi Metro. He had the same attitude. And I think those two lakes have proved to be life saviors again and again. People don't even realize that the water that comes to these two lakes actually start flowing into the Musi from the Anantagiri hills. And the Geo 111 was supposed to be kind of protecting those hillocks and those water bodies as the water flows into the city proper. And those, if you block those and if you remove that protection, then the devastation what Hyderabad was seeing today will be 10 times more. Am I right, Professor?
You are 100% right. In fact, but for those two reservoirs which have withheld the water, they were built as flood control measures initially, and they have done an excellent job even today's problem. So, because they were together, they hold about 4 TMC or 5 TMC of water. That itself is a big saving. But if only we had the other thousands of lakes all around Hyderabad intact, this flooding would not take place. I'll give you one most important reason why the extra flooding took place. We used to have a contour canal known as Firangi Nala. It was a marvelous canal. And from Shamshabad to Ibrahimpatnam Cheru, which is on the Nagarjan Sagar road. This canal was conceived by a British soldier, Firangi. That's why it's known
called
as
the name
Firangi.
Firangi. Okay.
And he was a soldier, but then he was also he had abundant common sense, and he visualized. And he was a witness to the time when Hyderabad got flooded.
1908.
So he decided, okay, Vishvesvaraya Garu suggested, therefore it should be done. He agreed with that. But then, as a supportive thing, he said the water that comes from the southern side of Hyderabad should not reach Musi, because already its capacity is limited. You know, he conceived a what we call contour canal, right, which will stop the water from coming towards city, and then divert it and incidentally fill up 25 lakes in between, and ultimately join Ibrahimpatnam Cheru, which is a huge reservoir.
And where are they all gone today?
And the worst part is, I had brought it out to the notice of the state government, and I filed a case in the Andhra Pradesh State Human Rights Commission. It was admitted, and on my request, then the chairperson, Justice Purushotham Reddy, and 2 other judges, they visited, on my request, they visited the Firangi Nala, all the 3 judges, and they gave a number of orders. And those days the government was pressurized to evict the what we call the encroachment. It was done, only 10% was remaining. But the present government totally ignored. I am very sorry to say that this government is definitely the prime reason. It is the villain number 1, and it is the prime suspect. I would like to use. It is the most important person who is the cause of this flood.
So it's not that the huge rains or whatever dumping of 21 centimeters or 24 centimeters or even 32 centimeters has been spoken in different circles within a matter of few hours that caused this deluge, but it is a man-made disaster that happened because the government of the day did not pay heed to the encroachments, did not preserve the lakes, did not preserve the nala, did not desilt them in time.
One more point I want to add. Every state is supposed to have state disaster management authority. I would like to let the government publish a white paper where, when it was constituted, how many meetings were conducted, what is the money allotted, and what is the work they have done so far. We have a NDMA, we have the National Disaster Management Authority, and the state disaster management authorities were supposed to have been established. People would like to know, come on, you publish a white paper and let everything be known. So far, I have not heard anything of that. Now, coming to other reasons. There is, the 74th Amendment makes elections automatic. I'm not blaming this government alone. Even the earlier government, TDP and Congress, all of them, they all failed to ensure periodic elections to Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. That is one. After the term of every, municipal corporation, there would be a gap. A special officer would be there to continue the destruction. Elected reps will not be there. Okay, forget that. Now, what is the big thing? I'm talking about country now. Show me one municipal corporation in the country which can appoint its own city police commissioner.
That system doesn't exist in India. It's
No,
there in the US.
Why not? It is there in US where the police commissioner is appointed. And the mayor and the municipal council or the town hall meetings, they are open to the public and they monitor the health and the education and the safety and security, everything, including what culturally, so every city has its own cultural festivals. Nothing is there in this city. People are just forgotten. So it is the cumulative effect. What I mentioned started with the stormwater drain, then encroachments, then we come to lack of state disaster management authority, 74th Amendment completely violated. Okay, people like us, there are many in Hyderabad. For example, KBR Park, a very young dynamic group, they approached NGT and they won the government wanted to cut down 3,000 trees. That group, Hyderabad Rising, they stopped it.
That was SRDP, the Strategic Road Development Program.
I am the petitioner in that, but I would like to give credit to the youngsters there. Now, coming to the Musi, recently my students, both Naeem and Aftab, they filed a case. They got one retired High Court judge appointed for this Musi thing just hardly 1 month ago.
So that's another thing that Professor Reddy does. He encourages law students from different law colleges in the Twin Cities to file cases in various courts, because that is also kind of a lesson or a kind of a starting point for these youngsters as they're still in college to learn the intricacies of law. And I'm sure that has also succeeded in a big way, and that's what Professor Reddy was mentioning.
Yeah, not only for Musi, but even for municipal solid waste, the garbage. Students from Symbiosis Law School, they filed, Mr. Yashasvi and...
This was a Symbiosis Law College in Hyderabad, Shamirpet.
Yeah, here.
Okay.
Near Shadnagar.
Shadnagar, sorry.
And excellent, very bright students. And for them, they become so, the training, filing and appearing party in person before NGT is not a joke. It's a one-time experience.
And the other one was the Nalsa from Shamirpet.
For Musi, near Shamirpet is Nalsa. There also several youngsters are coming forward.
Professor Reddy, when you look at it today, I mean, that's a bright spot to look at when you see youngsters getting into the environment thing, because quite often they are not really bothered with it. It's more considered as a fashion statement to hold up posters and stand on the roadside or to conduct debates. But when it gets to the actual implementation or going to the court, filing the petitions, following it up, ensuring it's acted upon, it all takes time. But I'm sure on a rainy day like this, when we sit in Hyderabad, you must be thinking at the back of your mind, all these years what you put into the environmental issues, you've fought various cases in various courts. Do you think, as a closing part of it, in my closing comments to that you want to make, are you happy with what you achieved, or you think there is still a lot more to be done?
No, basically we in India, we use two words. One is karma and the other is dharma. We have done our dharma. What protection of environment is everybody's duty. Article 51A. Everyone's duty. I am doing my duty. Now, I am also enjoying the subject because my specialization is public policy, environmental policy. And I am working with youngsters. I hope in the days to come, this will be a big movement. Now, one last point.
Yes.
India is a signatory to several global conventions on environment, right from 90 Stockholm, Mrs. Indira Gandhi was there. 92 Rio Conference, PV Narasimha Rao was there. Recently Paris Accord, Narendra Modi was there. Indian Prime Ministers have been very forthcoming and they have been signing. What is lacking is when it comes to Indira Gandhi, we saw some action. The Water Act, Air Act, and something. But whereas when it comes to the present Prime Minister, I noticed some activity, but somehow I fail to understand why this government has not incorporated the Sustainable Development Goals. The goal of India to be reach these goals. In fact, these are global goals and they are transformational. So what my humble request to both all political parties and the youngsters is, yes, they have to connect to the subject, and each one of them, they should be working towards the realization of goal. One, whenever, because Hyderabad is Hybiz is economic, focus is on economics and development, nothing wrong. The point is that there is more money in the protection of environment, that is one, and there are millions of jobs that can be generated. For example, waste management, it's a very big subject. Organic farming, natural farming, it's a huge world of opportunity. In addition to this, rainwater harvesting, Mr. T. Hanumantrao's concept, 4-water concept, total rainwater harvesting, right? Groundwater recharge, creating surface water bodies, and last thing is ensuring the topsoil management. Even water treatment, effluent treatment, hazardous waste, everything, every human act, green buildings, sustainable cities, everything is connected to environment. And that is why today I am happy with the national education policy, that it provides for multiple exit and entry and choice-based credit system. I hope in the days to come, every youngster will study this subject. It's already compulsory, but they can take the system facilitates now, and there is no year loss, and creditization is of knowledge is taking place. I am sure in the days to come, this will be a holistic stream, interdisciplinary stream, and ultimately we will all work towards a goal where no one is left behind.
Thank you very much, Professor Reddy, for speaking to us. And I'm sure many of you who watch this extensive interaction with Professor Reddy realize that environment is not just a fancy word. It is not meant to protect our environment. It's meant to protect everybody's environment. It is not a selfish game. It's not fashionable. But at the end of the day, we need to leave a world better than we got it. It's for our children, our grandchildren, and the generations to come. Because if we don't do it now, remember the day your homes got flooded in Hyderabad or in Mumbai for that matter, that is a base lesson why ignoring environment is a disaster in the making. And it's quite often a human tragedy. Thank you for watching.